Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Viola Lavi.
And I'm Tundu Abiola. Our next guest, Adewale Yusuf, is a visual storyteller with strong interest in technology and the humanity ecosystem. He's the founder and CEO of an African leading technology media platform, Techpoint.ng. He's been covering the African tech space for more than 6 years, making Techpoint a leading media platform dedicated to startups, entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology in Africa. He's here to look at media coverage of Nigeria's startup space. Welcome to the morning show.
Thank you for having me here.
It's good to have you.
So we just had a brief intro, but can you tell us what Techpoint.ng is really all about?
Okay, so we moved from Techpoint.ng. We now Techpoint.Africa, so we are now a Pan-African company.
Okay.
What we do is we're a media company. So we focused on technology and startup, more like what you guys are doing, but we are doing it online. So, and again, we actually host events, we gather, we build community. We are community builder while we still tell the stories. And we've gone beyond just Nigeria. We've had a West African tour. We are going to organize something for East Africa this year, and beyond the continent as well. We hosted our first event in Germany last year, and this year we will be going to Canada to host it because we gather these developers in diasporas. We'll be going to London, to Canada to do the same thing. So what we do, we tell story, and beyond story, we gather people, we contribute to the development of the ecosystem and technology advancement in Africa. Simple.
Wow. One of the, last week or 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine did a TED Talk, Zane Vergie, and she said that, who's also used to work at CNN, she said that the most important person on the African continent is the storyteller, which is who you are.
Exactly.
The most important person, I believe, over the next few years are going to be the people that are telling the stories about the tech ecosystem. Yes. Talking about investments, talking about the development of entrepreneurship. One of the criticism that has been around is the fact that because we're not a very transparent society, we're not transparent about deal flows, because it's just not nature. How are you finding these conversations around deal flows, around actual investment numbers, around actual subscriber numbers, especially around different businesses when it comes to the tech space? Do you find that are you seeing a good trend?
So, to be honest with you, it's been difficult because Africa, sometimes we shouldn't blame ourselves. We shouldn't blame ourselves. We see a lot of startups actually going and dying. It's not a new culture. It's been there because startup most of the time is actually risk when you invest in someone. But talking about data and transparency, when we came in, we thought there would be data everywhere, but this is Africa. There's no data on literally anything. So what we started doing is we now started working with data, with primary data. Sometimes you go outside because I discovered a lot of businesses are actually shutting down for lack of data. So now we have an intelligence department in the office where we do report for throughout last year. We are the only one that actually have the real data and report on funding in Africa, in Nigeria. Don't say Africa. I mean, like, so we're currently...
How do you build that relationship with entrepreneurs and also investors that they give you these numbers?
So, I mean, they've known us for a while. Whenever you want to break any deals in Nigeria, you really definitely have to come to us. And most times when people actually invest, the investor actually had to put the number out, what they are doing, because of another investor that would join them, especially when it's a venture capital, not an angel investment. So because of the relationship, we've been able to build with both parties. We are getting this number. And some of the number as well, we go beyond just sitting at our table and actually go out to know what's really going on. So primary data is what we work with. Currently, we are working on a data, like a decade data, on African startups, and we will be releasing it soon. So our intelligence started like one person that was working, and now it's actually a team of people, and we have intelligence. We will be launching the intelligence platform on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Any special launch event for that?
We actually have a very big event coming up, Techpoint Build, which is our annual startup event. And that stage, we are using it to launch the intelligence department. They've been working for more than 6 months.
Okay. Now, a lot of sectors in the economy have experienced capital flight. Has the tech space been similarly affected? Because leading tech companies around the world made news in Nigeria. They came in and committed to investing in Nigeria. Have they actually delivered?
So, sometimes when we don't give ourselves some credit, we are not US, we are not European countries, we are Africans, and this is Nigeria. So it takes time for most of these things to develop. You see a startup that have actually raised more than 10 billion US dollars. You see a startup that have raised 100 billion US dollars. But when we, that's why your first question is really interesting, which is about data. We're currently doing a data, and we discovered that what all the startups have actually raised in the last 10 years is shocking when you see it's very, very, very little number. So the market sometimes is not developed. A lot of people investing, they are just throwing money for now, trying to make sure it matures. And that's why e-commerce are actually having a lot of troubles, because it takes a lot to educate the consumers. And it takes a lot of money. So when it comes to investment for now, I think we are still at the early stage. So we should give ourselves some credit. We should cut ourselves some slack and actually understand that money has to be spent in this market. Money has to be spent.
From what I understand, though, and please correct me if I'm wrong, for the first time in a very long time, Nigeria has overtaken Kenya when it comes to early stage and venture capital investment in tech space. Is that correct? And, or is it still on par, or where are we in that?
So when it comes to it, I don't think we've overtaken them. Definitely South Africa is ahead of everyone. Yes, and there's actually 3 markets in Africa: South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria. So Nigeria is the biggest market, but it's not the most matured market. So South Africa is very mature, followed by Kenya and Nigeria, but we are not up to them when it comes to the fund that has been raised, because that market is a bit mature than us, and thanks to their M-Pesa and Safaricom system.
Can you describe exactly what you term as the technology and humanity ecosystem?
Okay, so for me, I think beyond technology, human is everything. Humanity is everything. Sometimes we focus on technology. We've heard a lot of big grammar, big words like artificial intelligence, robotics, and all those things. But humanity ecosystem, we still need to know that beyond this technology touching each other, we're still human, and we need to respect that. Now, the way we use technology, even the social media, and we've forgotten that there is a human at the end of the other, end. For example, it's very easy for you to, it's hard for you to climb something, but now it takes a single tweet or a single mention for everything to go downward. So when it comes to humanity ecosystem, we are exploring how people actually relating the depression and other things that these social media are causing. Because whenever you see an handle, you are seeing an handle. We are seeing humans. We are seeing humans, and that thing is actually important. And as an African as well, when it comes to humanity, we need to understand how are people developing, where is the trust issue, all this social media we are actually seeing. For example, there's actually an app called Tinder, which actually changed the way people actually date ever. People don't see other people again. They don't see people as human. They just see them as, oh, swipe left, swipe right, and whenever you see the question, they ask people. So we are trying to see how we can actually get a message to get people to understand that people are still human, despite the technology they are using, and actually help businesses and still connect people. That's why we do offline events as well, because some people, your neighbor is actually a stranger, and a stranger is a neighbor. Your neighbor that maybe you share the same estate with, they don't know where you are now, but your friend on social media, maybe somewhere in Canada or somewhere, actually knows that you are in the station. So something like that, we are actually trying to connect people as well, not to forget the touch, that we are still human despite all this technology coming up. That's actually what I try to mean by the humanity ecosystem.
Very interesting. I want to talk about some of the investments you've reported on and some of in the last year. What have been some of the highlights of the tech community that you would like to, people that aren't into tech or people that don't know, would like them to understand so they can also be part of celebrating the success, especially around tech? I know that we've had the guys from Farm Crowdy on the show. Yes. They've gone on to win so many awards. I mean, they're literally being celebrated globally. Tell us a couple of these standouts. If you have a, you know, what are they called? Top five. Yeah, top. Yeah.
So
yeah, we interviewed them too. Yeah.
So I would try and go beyond last year because something changed everything in Nigeria. When Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, came to Nigeria, it changed literally our story.
So that was a conversation changer.
It changed not just conversation, it changed everything. Because a lot of people, the way this market is structured, is one of the strongest guy. I mean, he's very strong in the US, and is actually a US economy on its own. So now coming here, he didn't take just himself down here, he took the entire media. It took attention, and for him to come and actually leave, despite the negative words about Nigeria. I mean, I was in, all through November, I was in Europe. I went to the biggest tech conference in the world, and I discovered that there was nothing for Africa on the table. There was nothing, but one thing people still trace back is that guy coming. And he didn't just come, he actually invested in the startups that actually have an office in Nigeria. That's a big deal. So that 24 million he actually dropped for Andala is actually 24 million US dollar. It's a big deal. So when we now look at it, because now a lot of people are interested in tech just based on that. So we need more of that as well. But let's talk about the people that have raised. Yeah, Farm Crowdy, they raised 1.2 million US dollars. Paystack, they've raised more than 10 million US dollars. And the people backing these people up, they are actually giants in the States. So backing these people up, we have Flutter Wave.
I think they told us Stripe was one of their big investors.
Yeah. Yes, Stripe, Visa as well. Visa, and Flutter Waves, the same thing. Yeah. They've raised more than 12 million US dollars as well. And we have other startup, Piggy Bank, small startup raising $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, $8 million. I think so far, beyond the e-commerce era, we've had like maybe 10 million US dollar being raised. And it's encouraging that money is coming into the market. And it's another thing that is encouraging is actually seeing other local players as well coming to play in this space. Really,
do you feel this investment is tilted more to FinTech? Because when you rattle this off, you're rattling off a lot of FinTech companies.
So I think every session, every time, every era is actually about something, an industry. It was once e-commerce. That was the time of Jumia. That was the time of Konga. So currently, it's FinTech now. And FinTech, payment is everything. Payment is trust. And that's what we're trying to build, because everybody must pay online. You use social media, you use this, but are you paying through those channels? Pay on delivery is something that killed e-commerce. So they are trying to solve this problem. So now it looks like FinTech, but trust me, this year, next year, is going to change. Because
it could be agri-tech, it could be health tech,
it's going to spread over.
It could be edutech.
It's going to spread over because.
But I want to pick up on your e-commerce comment. The fact that there is been a dip in e-commerce, there's been online all these conversations about, is e-commerce dead in Nigeria? That's the first question. The second question is, when you look at the number of e-commerce operators that have pulled out over the last year, the people that have sold, what is the future for e-commerce in Nigeria?
So e-commerce is not dead. Commerce can be dead because people still buy online. But where they are buying is actually the question we need to be asking. And every market, when it comes to e-commerce, a lot of money needs to be born. Amazon, Alibaba, that we looked up as a hero of this industry, these people burned a lot of money. So when it comes to the other players, they still need to, excuse me, So money still need to go into most of these things, but e-commerce is not dead. E-commerce is coming, but it can be segment e-commerce. So there is Instagram commerce, there is Facebook, there is different ones.
Okay, so non-traditional e-commerce.
Yes.
Well, you're about to tell us the next frontier in the tech space. What's your prediction, if you could make one?
For?
The next frontier. Now is the FinTech era. What's next?
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be an industry. It's going to be spread over. FinTech is not going anywhere because they are the backbone of everything. And yeah, we're going to see agriculture, we're going to see education, but the next one is not about industry. It's just going to spread over. So I see that coming.
Okay. Not about the humanity element, the connections you're making?
Yeah, so when it comes to humanity, see, the media, some people are actually watching us right now. People are not just going to watch us. Once they are done watching this show, sometimes they are going to leave to do something else. And they're going to interact with technology. What I'm just trying to encourage us is there's had to be some policy around. That's why the GDPR in Europe is actually working to support and encourage the humanity and to I don't know how to put it, to actually safeguard the humanity because technology is going beyond data mining, all these things. We are controlled by this technology instead of us controlling them. If you hear the notification of your phone now is something else, and we need to do something about it, especially in Nigeria, that our government, their eyes are not open to most of these things. And it's sad to see the way they actually romance most of these dangerous things when it comes just to our publicity. I'm so sorry.
I want you to expand on that. What are the dangerous things that they're getting into bed with?
so there are a lot of things now. You pick a ride, just e-hailing rides. You don't know the driver, you don't know anything. There are other markets, they are actually putting lots of
lots of regulations. So
regulations,
lack of
yes, regulations. And beyond regulation, the government needs to understand that these people, they have the responsibility to guard the people.
So protection of people.
Yes, protection. That was the word I was looking.
Yeah, the protection of people, protecting people's data, protecting people. Is that the kind of stuff you're talking about?
It's part of it. Even the business, protecting people's businesses, because a lot of we live in a global village. We live in a global village that even Facebook, Google, all these people, they're actually taking away businesses. But it's actually a global market because anywhere they go, they're still supporting as well. First thing they actually do, any country this big giant actually enter, the first people they actually employ are actually the policymakers. They employ policy people because they need to understand the policy on ground. But we don't have much of this policy. They are not in our plans, and they have to be because we are getting to be, technology is now inevitable. And all this being online, your identity is not even more of offline again, it's actually online. So the government, I just need to call the government, no matter who the next government is, no matter who the current government is, we need to do something about the policy as well. A lot of people, I mean, Europe, they are actually on it, US, different markets, but we too, we need to look into most of these things because we are different, and our differences is what people will understand and use for or against us.
One of the arguments could be that the reason why technology took off for so long and is so robust in other countries is because there was lack of regulation before regulation came in. So sometimes it's almost also about timing regulation, right, so that it doesn't curb innovation. What is your take on that? Do you feel that we're ripe for regulation now, or there's still some innovation space so that we don't thwart?
So, to be honest with you, one thing, because I love to analyze everything, one thing I've discovered is, yeah, regulation. We don't have regulation. We're not ready for these things that happened. And we are not ready for the next one. Because the next one, I mean, we are talking about fourth industrial revolution now. Every industrial revolution is built on the previous one. So we are still in the digital one, while the fourth one is picking up. And the fourth one have to pick up on infrastructure. So as much as other platforms, other countries have infrastructure and this regulate because they regulated their infrastructure usage. But Nigeria, I know private companies, and we are trying to join them as well. They are pushing for this regulation, for this policy. But for me, from my own end, I don't think the government they are ready. They are interested in it. And this is some things that are controlling some economy. And it's going to control our own as well. Because the generation coming, they are actually beyond the millennial, generation C. So they are born with most of these things. They know how to use these things. And if you are not doing something, you are not giving a pipeline to them on what to do and how to protect them, you are going to miss out of a lot of things.
Well, that seems like a call to action for the government.
Yes, that's a fascinating point. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.